All right, so for this session, I wanted to cover the Max Cuvee Red, Napa Valley Red, which we've been producing, I believe now for about 15 or 16 years, working with the winemaker from Girard Estate in Napa Valley, and producing one of, this is our best-selling wine at the Max Restaurant Group, and we work really hard to try to keep it basically as consistent and enjoyable in style as it is from year to year. And the winemaker, I think, does a really great job. His name is Glenn Hugo, and he has been the winemaker at Girard Estate up in northern Napa Valley for many years now. And I've talked to him. And the key to remember is that we don't just kind of order up 1,000 cases every year and say thanks. Glenn actually sends me samples, the varietal breakdown in individual bottles, and I'll do a little bit of blending, put them together, kind of give him my notes, and then he sends me another blend once he's kind of composed that, and for us to taste and go over, and we send him back even more notes. So every single vintage of this we have input on. We're talking to the winemaker and adjusting based on what that vintage has to offer, because each vintage is going to be a little bit different. Some years are hotter, some years are colder. There's going to be different aspects in the different grape varieties that we use, which I'll talk about in a second, that can shine through, and we want to adjust for that. So Max Family Cuvée, Napa Valley Red Blend. So I know it's a little confusing because in our microsystem it's labeled as CA Max Cuvée, which stands for Cabernet, but this is actually a blended red wine, and it says it right on the label. So Napa Valley Red Blend. So what are the grape varieties here? So there's actually 6. Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon tend to be the dominant grape varieties. We also have Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec, and then Syrah. So those first 5 grape varieties, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, and Malbec, are all grape varieties that originate from the Bordeaux region in France. And so we kind of refer to them as Bordeaux varietals. The last one, the 6th one, is Syrah. And Syrah is a grape variety that originates more in the Rhone Valley of France, a little bit farther to the east in central France. And so we tend to refer to that as a Rhone varietal. In any case, they're all grown in Napa Valley and used as a blend in this wine. So the blend typically is going to compose roughly about 30 to 35% each Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's not a Cabernet dominated wine here. And in some years that Merlot I've seen it as high as 38 or 40%. It just adds a lush mouthfeel. It adds all that ripe cherry fruit that we often are looking for. And it's a great kind of balancer to the Cabernet, which has more firm tannins and richer. So it's a wine that's accessible right out of the gate when they ship it to us each year in the new vintage. So the style here is very consistent. They blend those 5 grape varieties together, and then the wine is aged in oak barrels, a mixture of newer and older oak barrels, for about 19 months. So what does that do? Well, it's going to impart a little bit of flavor from the oak, and because we have a little bit of new oak there, you're going to get some more new vanilla kind of flavors, baking spices, such as cinnamon and nutmeg. And also that new barrel has a little bit of toast or char to it, so you're going to end up with a little bit of smokiness. So when I do staff trainings or talk to consumers about this wine when they're tasting, they often will actually pick up a little bit of that smokiness in the wine, and we're going to taste it in just a second. And so about 19 months aging in oak, 6 different grape varieties. It then spends about another 6 months to a year sort of in bottle, settled down, and waiting for us to kind of ship it through here. So really kind of a complex wine. And we typically sell it for about $12.50 to $13.50 and about $48 on the wine list by the bottle. And it's just a really kind of a great kind of cornerstone key go-to wine, and I'm personally really proud to have it as our sort of our standard bearer for the Max Restaurant Group and our wine program. Smelling the wine, ripe blackberries, black cherry, cedar, a little bit of cinnamon, vanilla, and that little bit of smokiness is there. There's a nice kind of what I call briariness. Think about picking raspberries in July in the hot sun, and that sort of stemmy kind of sticky raspberry quality, the blend of herbal and stemmy raspberries. So really nice, and lush. I think that's one of the things that I think people really like about this wine is they stick their nose in it. It's really pleasing. It's really appealing from an aromatic point of view. On the palate, we get a lot of that dark fruit. There's a little bit of cedar and smoke coming from the oak, but more consistent notes. This wine, I know it's a little hard to see, but this wine has got nice kind of deep, dark, ruby almost purpley kind of color to it. And this particular vintage, which we're serving now, is a couple years old, so it hasn't lost any color, any flavor. Tannins are super smooth. There's a little bit of acidity there, which is great because we use it obviously in the restaurant setting. And I think this is a wine that has great complexity. And the way I've always kind of sold it is I tell people, this is a wine that's complex enough. If you're a serious wine drinker, it's going to suit you. It's going to be complex enough to fill your needs. But if you're somebody who's a little bit more of a novice, this wine is accessible. It's easy to drink, and it really works with a wide range of the food styles that we have on our menus, because we do have so many different kinds of cuisines in the group. So whether we're at Burger or Savoy, you can grab a bottle or sell a bottle of Max Cuvee Red, and it's going to work with the dishes that are there, all the way up to our steakhouses, and even in the seafood restaurants, this is going to work really well. So, and Italian, of course, don't want to forget them. But across the board, this really works with a lot of different cuisines, and it's very accessible. So Max Family Cuvee, 2016 is our current vintage, Napa Valley Red Blend, and 6 different grape varieties, 19 months or so in oak, French oak barrels actually, and just to produce a nice, complex, well-balanced, easy drinking wine that's great to sell and goes with a lot of our cuisine. All right, enjoy.